Good? We're going to be answering questions about League of Legends, or if you want to ask me other stuff too, but we tweeted out earlier, and we also put up a Reddit thread, and we are going to be trying to solve this big puzzle. Wait, it is Raz? Oh, that's awesome. What's up, dude? Well, yeah, especially no. Get your eyes off Fake God. I don't know what you would do. Anyway, sorry. We are here. I'm going to be trying to answer your questions. Obviously, I think no one is under the illusion that this split has been going great for LCS. We had really big expectations coming in. We have definitely struggled. So I'm going to be trying to offer a little bit of my perspective. Obviously, we did a Q&A with Prolly a few weeks ago, and we'll probably have more of that too. But they're hard at work this week, trying to prepare for the weekend. We made this change in Academy. Obviously, I assume people have a lot of questions. Going to be trying to walk through some of those. I appreciate your guys' patience and understanding if there are things I can answer. One of them being who's playing this weekend. Obviously, that's a little tough, but want to be cognizant of the fact that our team is preparing, other teams are preparing, and don't want to give out information that we aren't forced to until we have to. So that being said, we are going to start with some of the Twitter and Reddit questions, and then I can go into other stuff that the chat is asking. So let's pull up some of those. What rank am I in League? Ooh, I don't know if I should tell you because then I'll instantly lose credibility. But last summer I got to gold, and then I stopped playing ranked, and I haven't played a ton of ranked since. Just because I don't have that much time to play League, and when I do, I just want to have fun. I don't want people yelling at me or me yelling at people. Here we go. So we're gonna jump into some of these questions. Here, let me make sure I still have chat up so I can see what you are all saying too, and then we'll do some chat questions too. So. Real question here. Why didn't you make roster changes sooner? I understand you want to give the main squad the chance to improve. What was there a reason you specifically waited so long to switch things up? Let's do a 180. Really good question. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we are trying to be calculated and thoughtful with everything we do. And we're trying to balance a couple of things, which is one, how do we optimize to win this weekend? Two, how do we optimize to be the best team we can be in the near to medium term? So this split. And then three, how do we optimize to be the best team we can possibly be and win championships, spring championship, summer championship, go to worlds, have success that way. So the priorities that go with those different types of things can change depending on how near or long-term your focus is, and also how badly you need near-term wins. I think particularly in the last few weeks, we had relatively, we had opponents that, for the most part, outside of Liquid, we had a lot of confidence that we could beat. I think our record on the week, or across the 2 weeks, was 1-3, unfortunately. So obviously didn't go according to plan. But while I think we're certainly open to and exploring roster changes or experimentation, I think our biggest focus in the last few weeks was trying to beat teams we had already beat or we knew we could beat without adding more risk or volatility. Because at the end of the day, regardless of anything, if you're changing the roster, you're adding more volatility into things. And overall, our coaching staff's philosophy going into the past few weeks was we don't need to take on that risk. We think we can beat them given how our team is currently playing. Obviously, looking in hindsight, that looks like a bad bet. But that was the decision our coaching staff made for why we hadn't made any roster changes yet. It seems like the team is hesitant to make obvious aggressive plays on stage. Probably said that isn't a problem in scrims. Is there a problem with shot calling, is being confident in the game, making big plays? Really good question that I don't necessarily have a great answer to. I would say overall, we've definitely been much better in scrims this year than we've been on stage. It was a little bit the opposite last year. And that's always a little bit of a head scratcher, but also understandable. People play different in scrims. People are a little more aggressive, less aggressive. I think at the end of the day, the biggest it's not one problem, but our team has not been the team in practice that we've been on stage. And I think it's been a hard thing for our coaching staff and our players to come to terms with and figure out and try to improve on. Because a lot of the mistakes we've been making on stage just aren't happening in practice or aren't happening very often in practice. And especially if they're individual mistakes or whatever else, it's not something that you can really it's not a fundamental game understanding decision. So it can be hard there. But I think really at the end of the day too, probably has been pushing this team to be more aggressive and trying to figure out how to play that style, partially in terms of how to figure out how to win the most, partially with the players we have, but also frankly just the direction that League of Legends is going, I think, for the last 8 months, we've seen a lot more aggressive play being successful. You see Korea going from the slowest league to one of the faster leagues. You see teams like Griffin coming up. Obviously, they're great for a lot of reasons, but definitely pushing tempo. And I think that's something we've been trying to do, but clearly isn't translating on stage. And you could attribute to all kinds of things, from individual mistakes to communication to synergy to really just like how two people fit together. So again, don't have a great answer there. We're still trying to figure out a lot of these problems and trying to figure out the shot calling. Obviously, last year we were a team that, for the most part, was capitalizing on other people's mistakes, and it feels like that switched a little bit. So we're trying to figure that out. Okay, number 3, what is changing Huhi out actually fix, if anything at all? If what the team in interviews says is the problem, which is communication and synergy, changing out one of the most vocal members that communicates the most doesn't seem to fix that problem, only makes it worse. So as I said, we're not commenting on who we're playing on stage this weekend, at least at the LCS level. As for why we're experimenting, I keep saying at the end of the day, sorry. Overall, our team has a lot of issues right now. I don't think anyone is under the impression that we don't. And it's not like any single one player is a huge problem and then everyone else is doing super great and that's the clear answer. If that were the answer, we would have probably solved some of our problems a lot quicker. I think really we have a lot of different problems. Different players are struggling in different ways. The team is struggling in different ways. The coaching staff is struggling to communicate certain things. And really what we're trying to do now is experiment a little bit and not change for the sake of change, but try to make calculated, thoughtful risks that will ideally cause something to be fixed. Because when you have 100 problems, if you try to solve 100 variables at once, you'll probably fail. You're hoping to just get purely lucky. And really right now, I think what we're probably focused a little more on is how do we tackle various things, whether it be shot calling or whether it be synergy with this player or weaknesses here or how the coaching staff's approaching things, and trying to be a little bit more systematic with that. And I think you'll probably see more of that over the next few weeks because, again, we don't know what all of our problems are. We know what a lot of them are, and we don't know how to solve them all. So trying to be measured. Definitely, if you see any players that are substituted out from the LCS roster, substituted up from the academy team, I would view it a lot less as like, this guy's better than this guy or this guy's worse than this guy, and instead trying to say, how is this player's strengths going to affect the team versus this player's strengths? And I think overall, a lot of our guys are just different. League is definitely not a game that's just all about like pure individual skill and nothing else. So we're trying to manipulate those factors, try to learn about the team, and frankly, to some extent, hope that some things sit a little better or work a little better with some change. I hope it doesn't sound like I'm being too vague here. I'm trying to answer these questions to the best I can without either saying things I can't say or saying things I don't have the answer to, but appreciate you guys sticking with us. We have Rin Spider with a Twitch Prime sub. Thank you for that. Has Prawley's job security come into question during this process? Your world champ ADC looks horrible. Either he forgot to play or Prawley isn't setting the team up to succeed. Unfortunately, I don't think I can really agree with your sentiment here. Our perspective is that we put a lot of faith in Prawley. We've asked a lot of him, and ultimately our job as a management team is to work every day to help him to succeed more, help him to play to his strengths, help him to get the most out of the players, and help the players to buy into how he's running things. And when there are problems, naturally blame is going to go everywhere. I've literally seen every part of our organization be blamed, from the coach to the assistant coaches to all of the players to the management to me to Nade Shot, and that makes sense. We're losing, but at least right now we're still pretty bought in on how Prawley's trying to run things, and we're supporting him in terms of trying to solve the problems we have. Because again, it's not as simple as Prawley isn't good and the players are great and that's the only answer, or this player is weak and everything else is great. We have a lot of issues. And I still think that with the pieces we have, we can make something work, but it is a challenging road. Why aren't you guys making a trade for other junglers that could help you immediately, such as Dardoch? Also, why are you focused on Academy instead of bringing in outside players that could bring an immediate impact to the roster? This is a good question. I would say we are always considering options and considering what are the ways that we can improve and win. So I would like to say we're not super reactionary. I would like to say we aren't just like, let's just do this based on no evidence, based on no data, based on no information. And in terms of making trades versus using Academy, I think one, if we do make changes from Academy, we know these guys, we work with them a lot, we've seen them grow, and unquestionably we have more information about one of our Academy players than we do about another player on another team. Not to mention all the other hurdles in terms of bringing people in and circumstances there, but at least mid-split, I think we have enough assets to properly experiment and hopefully improve within our own program rather than making changes more broadly. Will we ever make changes? Will we make changes in between splits in terms of trades? It's possible. Again, I keep coming back to this. We don't have all the answers yet. We're trying to learn and improve while we do so. Who's actually doing the shot calling and why? Time to change. That's a good question. I don't have a for certain answer for you because, again, I think like most teams in League of Legends, I don't know exactly what people anticipate or expect, but I don't know of any team that is like there's a single person talking the whole game, delegating everything, telling everyone what to do. That's just not how the game works. Inherently, at different stages of the game, in different lanes, in different circumstances, everyone needs to communicate effectively to some extent. Obviously, some players are going to have deeper macro knowledge or just be more vocal or something in between. And obviously, people identify Aframo as kind of a shot caller type guy. I think that's a fair assessment. He's generally been really successful with that and was really successful with that last year. I would say this year, our shot calling as a team has been a little bit more spread out. And we're also still trying to figure out how, when Aframo is calling, how to make that effective. Are other people responding to it? Are we on the same page? At the end of the day, shot calling is a little bit less about really like, hey, one person telling one person what to do, and more, are we acting as a team? Do we have conviction? Do we have confidence when we make plays? And I think when those things aren't happening, we have mistakes like we did this past weekend against Golden Guardians, where we make a bad trade with Baron and Elder. I think a lot of people are looking at that and saying, who made that bad call? And it's very rarely that simple. It can be simplified in that one person makes the exactly right call, but when it's happening very quickly and you're trying to figure it out and there's all these different voices and people are saying different things, really what we have to figure out is how to be more on the same page. And sometimes that can mean less communication. And sometimes that can mean there are too many voices. Sometimes it can mean more communication, or sometimes it's just a change in how we're approaching that communication and whether it's being received and all this stuff. I feel like I'm going on a little bit, but hopefully that helps. And that's frankly, as we experiment, one of the big things we're trying to figure out, because it's clearly an issue. A long loss streak will also negatively impact a player's mental strength, as we saw in a game Sunday versus UGS, or the game versus TL, where the players gave up instead of fighting back against their opponent. How is 100T going to prove team morale and mental fortitude? Really good question. I don't know if I exactly remember us giving up against TL, but regardless, been tough. A few things. One, we are looking into what help might look like for our LCS team in terms of more proper kind of sports psychology or things like that. That's something we're trying to learn about, trying to make the right assessment on, and whether something would actually be helpful. Two, making sure that we just have good lines of communication, and I'm available and Nadeshot's available and the coaching staff are available to talk to these guys. At the end of the day, League is an all-consuming thing, and want to make sure that our guys have, even if they don't have a ton of balance in terms of time, they're working really, really hard right now. They at least feel like they have someone they can talk to. They at least feel like they're moving in a direction where they're progressing. So that's something that obviously is very, very important. I'd like to think that we have enough people in this organization that the guys do feel like they can do that. But at the end of the day, it's something that you have to improve on over time. You have to get better at. You have to make sure is like really sort of a cultural thing that exists, rather than like a single one-off, oh, we had a tough game. I hope everyone's doing well. In the ideal scenario, obviously you're going to be happier when you win and less happy when you lose, but I would hope that our program is or can eventually get to a point where there's a baseline level of comfortability and mental health and things like that, whether we're winning really hard or we're losing. But that is something that we have to get better at. We're relatively new at this, and we're trying to compound over time and get better and make sure our players feel supported, make sure that they feel like they can spend time with each other outside of the game and laugh a little bit, talk. And I think I'm glad to see still some of that, as our guys aren't just, it's not all doom and gloom all the time. But Can be hard when you're losing a lot. Those were a bunch of questions from Twitter. Hopefully that was somewhat helpful and interesting. I did want to go to the Reddit real quick and answer a few of those because I think there were a few that stood out. Yeah, so this kind of goes on that last note, but Jared87 had said, is there any sort of other team bonding other than the playing and going out to dinner on Tuesdays? Coming from a psych background, I personally don't believe communication is an issue, but rather lack of trust. By doing these extra things, maybe you could build up more trust within the team. I think this is really coming from a good place and generally thoughtful and probably right. I think one challenge for us has been we've tried to institute certain ways for the players to have fun or go out to dinner or whatever. I think to some extent we want to be careful with how much that is coming from us or from the coaches even, and how much that is being generated from the players themselves. Because I think doing too much of that can put you in a place where it's like a forced thing where it's like you have to hang out with your coworkers. At the end of the day, we want to set up our players to feel like they can be comfortable to do that with each other and do that with each other. So I think it's a balance of how much we push on that, how much they do it naturally themselves, how much we can help create opportunities for that. I think it's also a question of if we're doing a team dinner with management there and I'm there, does that create a different tone for the guys? Are they more comfortable when they're just together by themselves? And I think we're trying to balance both. But at least the feedback I've gotten is that generally I think the guys are finding time with each other, whether it's just going for a walk to get coffee or laughing with each other before we play games or whatever it might be. But that is a really important thing. I think it's probably something that getting some more help kind of on the mental health psychology side could help with too. What do you wish the fans understood about the team that you don't think they get right? It's a really interesting question. I would say one thing I notice, and maybe this is just the internet and fans and it makes sense, but there's a lot of assumption that that when we're doing things, it's not considered, if that makes sense. So it's just like, oh, last year, you're not playing around someday top lane. Like some days you're carry, why isn't he playing carries? And that can be a fair criticism and a fair assessment or complaint. But I think generally I would say is that these players and our coaching staff and hopefully our management too, like we're trying to be thoughtful and really, really consider everything that we do. I would say it's very rare that we're just doing things completely on a whim. These guys spend all week in scrims practicing things, trying things out, trying to make things work. And obviously, when it doesn't work on stage, everyone's going to complain and everyone's going to have questions. And that is fair. That is what should happen. But I would hope that people maybe kind of, I don't want to be the guy who begs for extra credit while your team is losing. But I do hope you guys know like how much time we're putting into this, how much time we're trying to solve these problems. And solving all these things when there's a lot of chaos or a lot of questions is somewhat hard. So I ask that more than anything that you just be patient with us. We really are trying. I think the thing that's maybe hardest to see is just like when I see comments about our players or our coaching staff or us as an organization not caring. I can assure you that is not the case. For every one of our guys, like they're putting in so much work. And when you don't get results, when you're putting in a lot of work, it also really takes a toll. So trying to make it happen, trying to get the wins for you guys. But yeah, I've been like kind of ignoring chat. I do see Octane in here, which is awesome. I think that is probably good on the Reddit questions. Do we have any questions in chat that have been popping up that people are really excited about, really interested in? I feel like I've been ranting and talking everyone's ears off, so hopefully you're not totally sick of me. And if you do have any more questions, be sure to tag or add Cappy Jack so I can see them. Next drop will be similar to other drops, so limited, yes. I guess maybe another follow-up question. I think we're getting probably close to the end here. I talked a long time without checking in on the chat. Are there clarifications you guys want? Are there stuff I said that just doesn't make any sense? The stuff I said that you're just like, I'm calling BS? Trying to be transparent here. And again, hopefully wasn't a ton of just bland non-answers, but hopefully helpful. What should I know about League before I join 100 Thieves? A decent amount, but obviously not a ton about all this stuff. I mean, hopefully if there's a through line through all these questions is that our approach is generally let's listen and learn and try to improve incrementally over time. And I think it's been really frustrating for so many fans to see us have such a successful year in the spring and summer to a little bit lesser extent, but go to Worlds last year and then regress. And it's very easy to point at like, oh, this player or this thing or whatever. And we try to take all those criticisms, but also, yeah, trying to learn and get better at this stuff so that each split, even if our results aren't always going to be improving, we're improving at the kind of inputs so that the outputs are generally going to be better. When you have good inputs, you sometimes get unlucky, you sometimes make mistakes, but ideally your outputs are going to be better. Is it hard to sub in players due to the fact that all the players on the main LCS team are super valuable and hard to replace them with Academy? It's hard to sub out players in general for so many reasons. I think if you create a culture of a lot more, like for example, Optic Gaming right now, like it's like 10-man roster right at the beginning, makes it a little bit easier. But in general, and I said it earlier, it's like we don't have, it's not like we have an underperforming player and then 4 players who are crushing it. Like we're having weaknesses and strengths and struggles and things all over the team. And if you do see us make LCS roster changes, it is not a indictment of one player. It is, we're trying things, we're trying to figure things out. Yeah, we have, it's not random. We have some belief for why we think these things might improve or help us have a better chance to win. But it's, yeah, it's not a, this guy's clearly better than this guy, so make the change thing. And rarely is it, I think. Has Ryu been considered mid lane? Again, I think we always consider all options. I would say it's very unlikely that Ryu will play mid lane. We really value him as a coach, and he's an import as well, so would make things very difficult. Why doesn't Probably invite the academy coach or Ryu on stage during draft? I addressed this a few times, but just to clarify a little bit more, Kelsey's generally more focused for the academy team, although I think as the season progresses, it's likely that she'll be more involved with the LCS if after academy ends. But Ryu and Joseph, the players, probably, they all meet every night before the match, along with all week. And the draft is very much a teamwork thing. The exact draft on stage, one has a playbook beforehand where we've considered most, if not all, options. And two, really at the end of the day, there's a very tight time constraint, and the most important thing is clear communication and swift decision making. So I think Prawley's philosophy on having, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I think he's trying to keep things simple so we can execute on the game plan. Wrapping up? Cool. Any final questions about League of Legends, at the very least? Do you love me? Yes, I do, Sam. Sam LaRue, Octane, killing it for 100 Thieves Call of Duty. I said League of Legends questions. Sorry. How, in your opinion, do 100T start going on the run necessary to secure a playoff position, hopefully show up strong in these playoffs? Great question. Right now, I think we're considering a few things, which is 1, how do we win this weekend? 2, how do we make playoffs? 3, how do we do more well in better in playoffs? And 4, how do we make sure we're in a good position for summer? And those are all really important questions. Again, not going to comment just yet, but we've been working on things. We have been experimenting, and hopefully we're going to get some wins for you guys this weekend with some of the things we've been working on. And then beyond that, I think it'll probably still be, how did this weekend go? What did we learn from it? Maybe what we tried totally didn't work. Maybe it worked to some extent. Can we experiment more, etc. Do you ever listen to Hotline League, and would you be willing to go on to talk to Travis and take calls? I think you would get more direct and more critical questions there, which would invoke discussion or have Probably go on the show. Gabe, I think, went on the show, and I think maybe Probably went on last year. I like the show, and I think it's a really cool dynamic. Yeah, it is a little hard when this is a little bit less active. I hope at least the feedback loop is working here, but yeah, that would be fun, or something similar. I think we are going to wrap it up now. I've kept you guys quite long. If you're not bored of me yet, I thank you. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for all of you who subbed as well. And yeah, this has been fun. I'm really excited for this weekend. I'm excited to see what we can do. And we're against Cloud9 and TSM. So a win against either of those teams, if not both of those teams, would be huge for the team. We're only a game out of 4th place, as crazy as that sounds, despite the struggles. The league's really close, and I hope you'll tune in and watch and support the guys. The last thing I'll say, just because there was a little bit of it, is like, I have so much respect for each player that works for, or that plays for 100 Thieves and works hard for us every week. I've seen a lot of complaints and slander and different things about, and criticism is fine, but I do ask that you just support these guys and understand, again, that as we try things and as we all explore this and guys struggle or they do great, at the very least you have a baseline level of respect and support for them, because again, I feel lucky to get to work with every single one of them. Thanks for hanging out. This has been 100 Thieves AMA, and if you want to ask me more questions, I'll try to be responsive on Twitter at Jackson Dahl, and if not, we'll have 100 Talk tomorrow, doing 100 Thieves Academies. They play Echo Fox Academy. Big game for the guys despite falling this week, and excited to see them because they're always a blast. Thanks, guys.